All right, it is that 2 o'clock p.m. time. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our OKA11 webinar. My name is William Bohannon. I am an education and outreach liaison with OKA11. Today we're going to be focused on the variety of tickets that we have here at Oki for your excavation. Additionally, I want you all to know that our email, education@oki811.org, is available for any questions or additional support that you may need now or in the future. So let's go ahead and dig right into today's topic. Our overview of today, we're going to be talking about the law, the excavation law itself, the OUFDPA, and OKA11's role. We'll also be discussing excavator responsibilities for submitting a ticket, what that information is that you would be required for submitting a ticket, and the individual ticket types themselves with us. So let's go ahead and begin with the Oklahoma Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act. The Damage Prevention Act, or OUFDPA, is the law that covers safe excavation. This includes that excavators must submit a locate request with OKI 811 prior to any excavation if any utility is damaged or if there is an emergency that requires excavation. When submitting a normal dig ticket, excavators must provide a minimum of 48 hours, excluding holidays, weekends, and data notification prior to digging. Now, as we're growing, we are starting to say between 3 to 10 business days before the project begins. The lifespan of a ticket is 14 calendar days, beginning with the start date provided on the ticket. Excavators must confirm their positive response and make sure that the marks on the site do match the response provided. If any facilities are damaged without contacting OKI 811, the excavator may be held liable for the damages to that utility. Last on our list here, any excessive or unreasonable locate requests, meaning requests being made without any work being done, may allow the utility operator to recover costs of locating. So what is OKI 811 in all of this? OKI 811 is a free statewide notification service that connects excavators with utility operators. Here's how it works. The excavator submits a request by phone or online. OKI 811 notifies all the utility operators in that proposed excavation area. Operators will then dispatch locators to mark lines within that 48 hours. And it's all about protecting people, preventing service interruptions, and avoiding those damages, making sure everybody makes it home at the end of the day. We are dedicated to providing Oklahomans with quality damage prevention services. OKI 811 does not mark or locate. We are the record keeper and the communication hub. Again, we're the middleman that connects the excavators with utility operators. So excavators with locate requests must always submit a locate request before excavating, regardless of the size of the job. And as we go through, there'll be a bunch of different tickets, different types of locate requests, and we'll break those down more so as we go through. So knowing which type of ticket you're going to need is going to be very impactful for how your project moves forward. A national statistic is that every 6 minutes, a line is damaged in the US when an 811 call isn't made. So making sure that the right request is being applied at the right time. It is also the excavator's responsibility to maintain the markings and ensure that the markings stay visible throughout the project If they are not visible, requesting remarking. And then, of course, it is the excavator's responsibility to excavate safely, following the tolerance zone rules, digging by hand when necessary, and reporting any damages immediately. And remembering that tolerance zone is the 24 inches either side of that utility. Now, information that would be required for your ticket is including the contact information, providing the name of who is sending in the notice, the company information, address, and phone number, contact information that expounds, right? And as we expound, we're talking about that field contact as well, someone who will be on site, knowledgeable of the work that's going on, having access if there are any access issues, and a locator will want to make sure, and operators will want to make sure that they have someone on that site that if there's a watch and protect, or if there are, again, access issues, that can be communicated. Some more information that will be required for your ticket is providing, again, that clear address, the GPS coordinates, and nearby intersections. Locators need to know precisely where the work will take place, not just a front yard or an east easement. They will need to know the exact area of which that excavation work is going to be to give the best markings. You'll also need to include a work description, specify the type of work that is going on: trenching, boring, drilling, grading, post installation, fence installation, anything like that will need to be included on your ticket, including the scope or size of the area of which you plan to trench, or area in square feet where that excavation will take place. For example, a 40-foot trench for a water line along the north easement at this address at this location. There will also be a request for special considerations, mentioning any unusual situations such as explosives, directional drilling, if you're including white lining, if there are pets or livestock, locked gates, any kind of terrain hazards, or environmental hazards. These details help utility operators plan accordingly. Of course, there'll be a start and end date for those tickets that will be requested with that information, when the start time will be, for the exact date and time the work is planned to begin, and when that work is planned to end. That'll be your estimated completion date. Remember, you must wait that minimum 48 hours, excluding holidays, weekends, and date of notification, for those utilities to respond. All right, as we move forward, we're going to get into the ticket types themselves, what they are, and how they can be applied. So we have a variety of ticket types here, and our first two that we're going to talk about are online requests only, and they are not excavation tickets. That is the pre-excavation meeting request and design or survey notice. Those are not for excavation. Next, you have normal compliant, then remark or extend, second notice, demolition, emergency, and damage reports. So we'll go ahead and start with that pre-excavation meeting request. Again, this is not a dig ticket. It is only used to set up a meeting. That meeting would be with the company that is planning the excavation or the construction, and the utility operators that function within that area. This request can only be made through our online portal. It's used for large projects, anything that's scoped to be beyond 90 days. The request must include date, time, and location, in person or virtual, for that meeting. The entire concept of having this pre-excavation meeting is to make sure that all is being communicated and resources are being coordinated before operations commence. This is all about that communication before the excavation. If the meeting is planned to be virtual, there needs to be a platform and link with contact information attached. Required notice is 14 calendar days prior to commencing excavation. So you'll want to have this meeting a minimum of 14 calendar days before excavating. Now, the meeting must take place at least 72 hours before submitting a standard compliant ticket. Now, remember that members respond within the 72 hours with the code of will attend or will not attend. And you will see that in your positive response when checking. Coming into another non-excavation ticket type. Again, this one is requested through our online portal only. The design survey request is a crucial piece for setting the foundations of a successful project. No digging, again, can occur here, but positive response is still required. The main purpose is to mitigate the impacts to existing underground facilities. This is an opportunity to get certain mapping of the area, having it marked to see what is within that vicinity and how to work around it as you design what work will be occurring within that area. It's also helpful to notify the members and provide information regarding those facilities in the project area. This will allow more of that communication again, whereas with the pre-excavation meeting, that would be discussing more. With a design survey, it would be providing more of those materials directly. Again, required notice. This is a 14 calendar days from the date of the request. So this gives members the time to respond. That is 14 calendar days for them to provide you with maps or mark the area as a survey. Members can choose either of those site markers, mappings, or both, and that may also be requested or communicated as the designer, engineer, anybody who's looking to get that survey information, they can communicate and request that up, and that can be collaborated. If there are lines in the area, the facility operator can send locators to mark those lines and again send those maps. It's going to be, with these two first tickets, a lot of planning, a lot of communication and coordination to get as much information about what is underground as possible. And having those plans in place, having that information prepared is going to make future excavation, when the normal compliant ticket comes in, much smoother. It will provide you with valuable information of those assets in the area and which team members and which facility operators to communicate with going forward. Now, the most common ticket, the normal compliant ticket, this is the standard locate request that is required before any excavation begins. It must be completed 3 to 10 business days in advance to the project commencing. It is used for non-urgent work. It has and it's the first time ticket for a specific location. Again, normal compliant tickets are only valid for 14 calendar days from the start time given. Normal compliant tickets may be submitted through the online portal or called in to Okie 811. These tickets are the standard markings using the APWA color code for what facilities lie in what area. Now, looking at update tickets, we have two types of update tickets. And these are the type of tickets that will extend the life of your original normal compliant ticket. We have remark and extend. Remark tickets are if the excavation will exceed 14 calendar days or the utility markings have faded, become altered, or are not clear. It must be the same location and scope as the original ticket, and you may not start work until the markings have been renewed. Having the markings on site guarantees continuous precision and safety. It is important not to dig blind. For an extend ticket, if the work is continuing, it's ongoing, same as remark, the work is ongoing, but your markings are still clear, you may request for an extension. It must be completed before the ticket expires. This goes for both the remark and the extend, providing a minimum of 48 hours prior to that ticket expiration, excluding holidays, weekends, date of notification. It does not change, again, the scope or the original location. And the operators will also have an option here to return to the site and confirm for themselves if the markings are legible and if they choose to remark or not. Extending a ticket does not replace the need to obtain those up-to-date answers, so always check that positive response. Now, for second notice, this ticket is sent out one at a time depending on what your needs are. So, if one or more service operators have not responded or marked the area that you plan to work in, a second notice or third notice can be sent through Okie 811. It is used to request compliance, not to extend the validity of your ticket. So it will not extend the life of your ticket. What it is doing is you're confirming your positive response, and you've noticed you're missing markings for, let's say, gas, and you need to make sure that you have that positive response and site markings. It's the day to dig and you still don't have those markings, you submit a second notice and gas comes out, they mark and provide a positive response, you have all of your positive response. You must have all positive response and markings before you can excavate. It is very, very important. This is, again, keeping from digging blind. Second notice is a follow-up and not a restart. The timeline for the original ticket still applies. So the timeline of your ticket stays the same, but you cannot start work until all of the positive response is confirmed. Emergency tickets. Emergency tickets are called in only if a situation arises that poses an immediate threat to life, health, or property. When it comes to an emergency ticket, you must call 811. Emergency tickets may not be submitted through our online portal. You must provide as much time in advance and notice as possible, as we will notify utility operators within the area to prioritize coming out and marking that emergency. You must clearly explain the nature of the emergency to a contact center agent and proceed with caution to excavate carefully. Now, with an emergency ticket, you may begin excavation immediately, but you still must call Okie 811 to generate that ticket. If excavation must begin immediately, soft digging to avoid damaging other utilities is advised, using a hydrovac, using hand tools if applicable. Demolition tickets are not often discussed, but before any demolition work begins, excavators have a couple of things that they must do. So demolition is defined as wrecking, razing, moving, or removing a structure. Any person or company doing that demolition is responsible for submitting the following tickets to Okie 811 prior to demolition. So we have 2 tickets required for that. So first is a demolition notice, and it must be initiated before submitting a normal locate. It requires at least 7 business days in advance notice to operators and happens after the legal permits are attained. So you have your local permits that are obtained, then you have your Okie tickets that are obtained. So you have your local permit, then you submit your demolition notice. And again, this helps to identify facilities and coordinate best response and which utilities need to act for protection and damage prevention during the event. Now, it is important that that first demolition notice does not authorize excavation or demolition immediately. Prior to the active demolition, you must submit a normal compliant ticket. And again, that must be provided 3 to 10 business days in advance. An emergency demolition is another thing altogether. If an emergency threatens life, health, or property, again, demolition may begin immediately, but all operators must be notified as soon as possible, and it must also be reported through Okie 811. Damage reports, again, it is the excavator's responsibility to provide damage reports should any perceived damage occur during an excavation. If any underground facility is damaged, exposed, compromised, this includes dents, scratches, scrapes, divots, any change in the physical state of the line itself, you must report that immediately to Okie 811 and the utility operator themselves. This must be called in. It is not optional to provide it through the online portal. Again, that reporting is a legal requirement, regardless of the size or nature of the accident or damage to the line. For example, while digging a trench, a crew scrapes the outer coating of a gas line, but there's no leak. It may appear to be minor damage, but the protective layer is compromised. They must call the gas company and submit a damage report through Okie 811. Now, when it comes to ticket requests, we touched on this a little bit at the beginning with excessive and unreasonable locates under the OUFDPA. Excavators should only request locates for work that will begin or are ongoing. Duplicate tickets or inactive or untouched areas may be considered excessive or unreasonable locate requests. Service providers have the right to recover costs for this type of abuse under Oklahoma law. This falls under the Oklahoma Underground Facility Damage Prevention Act, section, which is Title 63, Public Health and Safety, subsection 142.6. An operator may recover these costs from an excavator for excessive and unreasonable locate requests under this law. So let's provide an example of what that might look like. A contractor submits tickets for an entire subdivision, but only works in one section. The rest of the lots remain untouched for weeks, but they're sending in update tickets. And they continue to send in update tickets as the work is not occurring within the other areas. This is considered excessive because it forced operators to mark areas where there was no excavation activity occurring or planning to occur within the time of that ticket. Something that we do want you to keep in mind is that every excavator, company, or contractor performing excavation work at a job site must have their own 811 excavation ticket covering their specific activity, their specific scope of work when it comes to moving earth or moving dirt. So making sure that the scope of your ticket meets the work that you are doing. Now, there are a few other tickets for us to touch on. There are two others. The first one being wildfire emergency tickets. They're processed as emergency tickets. They're used for unplanned excavation and to control active fires. They can be acted upon with no notice. The notification must be issued immediately during the event, and it's typically initiated by fire personnel, the fire department, wildfire firefighters to Okie 811. They are typically communicated for the members rather than a traditional locate request, unless the fire break operation specifically requires anything else. So it's only valid during the wildfire emergencies themselves and applies when the risk to underground facilities is imminent. This may also be due to moving earth to bar wildfires from moving further. It functions as that direct notification to members, and it's not a traditional locate. It enables immediate coordination with first responders and those utility operators. There's also the cancel ticket request. This ticket is used to cancel an existing locate request when the work will no longer be performed or the scope of the original ticket has changed. It is important because this notifies members that the markings associated with the previous ticket are no longer required, thereby preventing unnecessary locates and confusion. It requires no waiting period, but it can only be canceled prior to the scheduled work start date of the previous ticket. Upon cancellation, the ticket becomes invalid and no locate will be performed. The cancellation is confirmed through positive response, code 13, indicating that the request has been withdrawn and no further action is required. Now, an automated response will come up through your positive response if you are requesting a ticket to be canceled. As it is Okie 811's objective to provide quality damage prevention services, we wanted to provide a couple of additional resources as we begin to wrap up from our webinar here. And I'm going to provide a couple of QR codes for our Safety Days page and our Oki 811 Learning Hub. Our Safety Days take place all throughout the state of Oklahoma, and they're an excellent opportunity to incorporate new tools into your toolbox. It gives up to 8 DEQ hours worth of training. It's a great opportunity to get certified with instructor-led Oki 811 excavation safety certification. Great way to network, meet other people in the industry that are leading. And then we also have our Oki 811 Learning Hub here. And our Learning Hub has everything from our excavator guides, including the law, as well as our virtual certification and other webinars, podcasts. We have everything in both English and Spanish, and which we're excited to continue to build in our safety community. If you would like to sign up for our safety days, I believe our next one coming up will be Lawton, and then following Lawton will be Ada. We'll also have some virtual safety days coming up as well. We'll open to review for any questions for a moment. If you complete our survey, you'll be entered in to win an Amazon gift card at the end of the month. That'll be a whole separate raffle, so we'll have a raffle today as well as at the end of the month. Feel free to reach out to education@okia11.org should you have any questions or would like to see more of these webinars and safety opportunities in the future. Perfect. We can wrap it up and close it out.